Okay, so this is 2 segments on the coordinate grid. So I know my A value here. If I'm going to name my point, I know it is 1, 2. So that's what I know that point is. And then I know my B value here is 1, 4. So like I said, I can figure out what the length of that is. So you can see it runs along the same value for X. So therefore I'm gonna subtract, I'm sorry, it runs along the same value for, I got this backwards, Y is what it runs along. Hold on here, let me just fix it. Okay, so this is 1, 2, this is 4, 2. Okay, so it runs along the same value for my Y. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract my X values. I mean, I can easily just count it, but I just want to make sure that you understand how the ruler postulate works, how to find the length. So I'm just going to say 4 minus 1. So I know that is equal to 3 units. And again, I can just go 1, 2, 3. So I know that that's 3 units. And so then my CD segment, so I know the length of AB is equal to 3 units. So my CD segment, so this is a negative 1, 1, and then this is a negative 1, 4. So again, the absolute value, and I can go 1 minus 4. So that would be a negative 3. So that is just 3. So once again, it is 3 units. So I know the length of each of those segments are 3 units. So I know A and B is equal to each other, is what I know. So, and we're just going to write that out. So I know, let me just move it down a bit. So I know A and B is equal to each other. So I'm going to say AB is equal to, and this is my equal sign, CD. So that's what I know. So if they're equal, which they are, they're both 3 units, then what I know is they're congruent to each other. So if they're equal to each other, then they're congruent to each other. Okay, so this, what I have right up here, AB is equal to CD, that's an equality statement. I'm about to write a congruency statement. So when I write a congruency statement, how I write that is I say segment, because I'm not talking about the length now. So I'm going to say segment AB. So I'm talking about the segment is congruent to, so there's my congruency sign, CD. So those are congruent to each other. So equality statement. AB is equal to CD. So that's an equality statement. There's no bar above those lines. We're talking about the length of it. Congruency statement. We use the congruency. We use the congruency sign with the congruency statement, and we put a bar above the letters. A segment AB is congruent to segment CD. Okay. Okay, so next thing is distance formula. So once again, I asked you to look the distance formula up and tell me what the distance formula is used for. So it's used to find length on the coordinate plane. So look what I have here. I have my x points being subtracted from my x point. I have my y points being subtracted from my y points. I'm looking for the length of it. I'm looking for the distance of that total line. So once I find the difference between the x's, I square it. Once I find the difference between the y's, I square it. And then I take the square root of it. Okay, so if you, on page 7 is that ruler postulate I was just talking about in segment addition. On page 9 is where I'm about to talk about the examples. And then it's the distance formula as well. So if you have your textbook, please turn to that. So it says determine whether the given statements, the given segments have the same length. Justify your answer. So I'm just going to show my work to justify my answer. So here it's talking about segment AB and segment CD. So we want to find out if those two segments are equal. So the first thing that I have here is I'm looking at segment AB. So I substitute those two letters in for that letter D, because that's the distance I'm finding. So I'm going to look at A and I'm going to look at B. So those are the 2 points I'm going to substitute in. And so the distance formula says x of 2 minus x of 1. So here's x of 1, here's x of 2. So 1 minus 4. So we know we're going to add here. So 1 plus 4 is 5 squared. And then my y sub 1 and my y sub 2, y sub 1, y sub 2. So 2 minus 4. So now here is a negative 2. So I'm just going to come over here because they kind of skipped a step. So 5 squared is 25. And then negative 2 times a negative 2 is a 4. So I'm just going to add those two together. And when I do that, I have a radical 29. And you're just going to leave it as a radical because you are not going to, you don't need to know what it is as a decimal. But if I did want to know what it is as a decimal, I know it's somewhere between 5 and 6 because radical 25 is 5 and radical 36 is 6. So, but it doesn't matter because I'm just checking to see if they are equal to each other. So now I'm just going to do the same thing with my C values. So I'm just going to say 4 minus 2, and that is 2 squared. And then a negative 2 minus a negative 3, and that's a negative 5 squared. So once again, this is 4 plus 25, which is radical 29. So AB is equal to CD because they're equal to radical 29. So, and then that's my statement. Therefore, segment AB and segment CD have the same length. All right, so here is that next example. So always the first thing that I want to do is I want to go in and I want to get my points is what I want to do. So I want to figure out what E is, EF, so there it is. And so I want to substitute all that information in. So my X values are a negative 2 minus 3. So therefore, I'm going to add those. So that makes that a 1 squared. And then my Y values are a negative 3 minus 2. So when I add those together, it's a negative 5. So this is 1. 1 squared is 1. And then 5 squared is 25. So this is radical 26. So on my next one then, again, GH is my next points I'm looking at. My X values are 2 minus minus 2. So again, this is, you're adding that 2. So this is 4. And then my Y values are 0 minus minus 4. So again, that changes to addition. So here I have 16 plus 16, and that equals 32. So what I can see here is they're not equal now. So I'm going to say EF is not equal to GH. And I'm going to write below the line because I took that space. So then I'm going to say EF, segment EF, and segment GH do not have the same length. Okay, so I did not get to midpoint. So you are going to need to make sure that you watch the video because you are still responsible for it. 50 minutes is just not enough time to teach this. I'm going to make a video for the next lesson. You are responsible for watching that as well. You will have another assignment on HRW with pertaining to 1.2. All right. So if you are logged on to, let me just look at, let me just pause the recording.